Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Now and Then Wrestling Podcast. I'm Ben Jordan, along with Michael V. We're going to talk all about the now of professional wrestling, as well as the then of professional wrestling. This week's retro review, we will finally get to the 2004 Ted Petty Invitational, and what a long set of shows those were, but fun, and we will get into them, and we'll break them down as best we can. In the meantime,
those shows are still going from 2004. They're still going right now, currently in 2022. I think that fucking show is still rolling, man.
It felt like it, watching it all over again. So you can imagine having been there in Highland, Indiana for 2 nights back in 2004. So we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. We usually start the show talking about the now of professional wrestling, and there is quite a bit of news to kind of chat about. There's a couple of things that we have in the archives. We're going to talk a little bit about Triple H did an interview with The Athletic and revealed some things that we talked about a few weeks back when well, not a few weeks at this point, probably a couple of months ago, when all those releases happened and everyone speculated, oh, Triple H is on the outs and, it's all his fault why everyone's getting released. He kind of had some answers and some intriguing insight into that we will get into that I know Michael V wants to comment about. But there's a lot of AEW stuff to get into, which we will as well. And then one story we will get to impact-wise, literally the most insane thing anyone has ever said about a title belt was said by someone in regards to an Impact Championship. I'm going to tease you with that, and we will get into it.
I'm intrigued because I don't even think I know what that is. Or maybe I do and I'm forgetting.
You do, you're forgetting. But that's
okay, I am forgetting.
That's even better. All right, so let's talk AEW because there's a lot to get into because Tony Khan had another major announcement.
Whoa, before the Tony Khan major announcement, which is like always the littlest. It's just getting smaller and smaller now. Like he's now the guy who proposes to a girl with like an empty box and like, I'll promise I'll get you a ring. Like this is a very hollow gesture with the major announcement. But I want to get a couple of things out of the way real quick before we dive into the wrestling, especially in case anybody actually watches this that might know me and doesn't want to hear us talk about pro wrestling bullshit. First of all, this show is clearly brought to you by the Golden State Warriors.
Yes, you friggin' dapper.
Well, here's the deal. First of all, it's the playoffs. That's the way it is. Now, I've also had my Sixers stuff and other things like this, but I did not notice until on camera that I look like Ricky Bobby with the fucking Wonder Bread. Like I look like the tackiest like neon light for fucking Golden State Warriors.
You are the guy that is in the crowd on television.
Well, my wife does own a pair of pro wrestling like Warriors spandex tights that she feels are very lucky for. Yeah, so it does delve into darker corners in this household. But I want to get two things out of the way real quick. One, my little girl, love her to death, broke her clavicle today and took it like a fucking G. And I even told her in the car, I said, I'm very proud of you, honey. And you took it like a G. And she was like, oh, thanks. And then she was like, what's that? And I was like, I was like gangster. And she was like, oh, cool, thank you. I was like, wow. So very much like me, which my wife also despises because she is the most like me of any of all the children have little blends of me, but she's the most like me, and it definitely pisses her off. And second thing,
what was she feeling better soon?
Yeah, well, hey, I already told her I think her adult male brothers would have cried and taken it worse than her. Shout out my sons. I love you. But also, real quick, this might sound like it's going to be like go into a dark, sad place, but it's not.
Okay.
But I want to shout out my uncle, who I will not use by name, but he found out he had diabetes and had a stroke a couple days ago. And when I heard, I just kind of laughed and shook my head. Because my uncle is the hardest motherfucker that ever lived on this planet. He just had a stroke and had diabetes. He has HIV. He's beaten cancer multiple times. He lit himself on fire while cooking on accident and was in the burn ward for 3 months. And he was shot in the eye. And while being right, he is still alive. He is still kicking. He is still him. I love my uncle to death, man. He is the hardest motherfucker that there is. They could not, for this stroke, they could not do an MRI on him because of the shrapnel in his head from the bullet of when he was shot in the eye. He's still fucking going, man. It's like he is just unbreakable. Just wow. And if you're ever thinking you're having a bad day, maybe consider like the long list of shit, and myself included, because I do it all the time. But it's like, you know, everyone thinks they've been through some shit, but it's like, that's some shit. Like, and it's a lot of it is just ongoing, permanent shit. And
dude, that's you live the life if you're getting involved in all that kind of shit.
Yeah, he's fucking. God bless him, though. God bless him. But yes, now on to Tony Khan's major announcement.
Yeah, major announcement all over social media. They're going to open the show with this major announcement, and like, it is beyond the point. We talked about this the last time they did a major announcement, that it was just, it had already run its course with this, and he needed to knock this off. Here he is once again doing this and coming out with something that was fairly reported on. Like, it wasn't anything that was big and shocking and like, oh my God, that's earth shattering. The last time it was buying Ring of Honor, it had leaked before he even got out there. So the impact didn't have the same thing. Same thing happens this time. It leaks that it's likely to be something with New Japan. Sure enough, they announced they're going to do a New Japan AEW co-promoted show. It's going to be in Chicago, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
And they're going to
will be wild. The crowd will be wild regardless. Like,
yeah.
When you want to love it, you'll love it. And I'm not even saying it's going to be bad. Who knows? There's not even a card. But I mean, even if it was like mediocre, they're going to carry that shit to a different level because they're going to be into it.
Well, what I think is cool is it's not going to be like the MSG show where it's AEW guys wrestling AEW guys and New Japan guys wrestling New Japan guys on the same show. That they're saying that this is going to be a true like the old WCW New Japan show where they're actually gonna wrestle each other and maybe do something like a best of 7, something along those lines, or just have dream matches. And it is cool. It's a cool announcement. It's just not a major announcement that you need to tell us ahead of time, right? They could have just opened the show with that announcement, and it probably we wouldn't have that like shitting on it feeling, because we wouldn't feel like it's a letdown where they're just, okay, that's cool, because the concept itself is cool.
Listen, I want to rant, but there's also logic that I would like to apply to this. He's lost the fringes with the major announcement shit. Like, the new audience that he's trying to bring in, he's definitely like, he's not losing them, like turning them off, but it just doesn't make a difference anymore. It's like, like we hear this shit and we're just laughing about it. And, you know, and I've been fair to AEW on this podcast. Like, it's not my, I'm not like, it's not my favorite thing to watch or anything like that. But I mean, they do some really good shit on there. Absolutely. No question. I mean, I don't question that. And they do some goofy shit too. But I mean, but they've lost the fringes with that. And that's where the part of me that wants to rant, because it's like, are you fucking kidding, man? Like, it's New Japan, dude. And especially when you're finding out that, like, here's the thing. Let me rant. Well, let me get the logic out of the way and then I'll rant. The logic is, because it's a perfect segue. The logic is the AEW fans are like sipping the Kool-Aid. There's WWE fans and marks, but like, we just said we weren't going to use that word, but just people that are way over the top. AEW fans are drinking the Kool-Aid worse than, like, more than, not worse, let's not even be negative about it, more than anybody else, like, as far as a fan base, with this amount of people in the industry, for sure. Because they're okay with it. Like, so to them, it is a big announcement. So, but even if it doesn't, the fringes, it does nothing to bring extra people in, but it gets them excited. Now, the rant part of this is this ain't a big fucking deal, okay? First of all, a little fucking, like, some people are like, this has never happened before. This has happened multiple times with New Japan.
Right,
they did shows with WCW on pay-per-view here. They did shows with Ring of Honor on pay-per-view here. They had fucking New Japan guys. Yeah, AAA. New Japan guys were on Impact pay-per-views. Fucking Liger worked a fucking takeover. Like, this shit is like, it's so, this is not new. It's not new, and no matter how much you want it to be.
Yeah, it's not unique. It's still cool because there's a lot of really cool matchups that they can do to make it interesting. That doesn't make it not a good idea. It's just you overhyped it. You overhyped it for no reason. There's no reason to overhype this because if you can get Okada versus Danielson, Punk versus Kenta, and give me anybody else underneath that. I don't care. If you can give me those two matches, you could sell a pay-per-view around those two matches.
I don't know if you can. I mean, like, and I don't listen. What I mean by sell is like they're at a stage where they're doing, you know, except for like when Punk came back and all that. I mean, they're doing about like, you know, in that 100,000, a little bit over 100,000 range. Like, I think they could do that just because that's what they do. That seems to be like their baseline for the most part. But as far as like it being bigger than that, who's Okada, man? Listen, all this shit is cute, but like the companies that he just bought, Ring of Honor, and the one that he's doing business with, New Japan, they did a pay-per-view where 7,500 fucking people bought it. Like, that's what we're talking about here.
He's doing business with companies that are down. This is not New Japan 3 years ago when the Bullet Club was hot as fuck. It's not the same company.
And even if it was, it wouldn't matter because all those people would be watching AEW already anyway. Because that's the thing too, is that he's attacking the smaller portions of the same fucking fan base. The small New Japan fan base in America and the small Ring of Honor fan base in America, that's part of the AEW audience already. Like, who's watching New Japan that isn't watching Ring of Honor or watching AEW? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Come on, that doesn't make any sense.
Does that fan even exist? Is there a fan like I watch? No. I don't watch AEW. No, there's a 0% chance of that. Yeah, you're right.
No, he's attacking brands that, and again, I've said many times, I give Tony Khan a lot of credit. I don't shit on everything that he does. I don't think he's a mark, any of that shit. But in this instance, what the acquisitions and all that have been going on, I do question, are you thinking that you're attempting to target new fan bases and you're really targeting the same? Because I'm not, all opinions of Ring of Honor, New Japan, all that aside, how are either one of those going to help you grow your product?
Yeah.
Like that's...
Dude, we should get media credentials and go to those media scrums that they have after their shows and ask them like legitimate, because I don't think there's any reporters there that are asking that type of question. But wouldn't it be a good question to ask Tony Khan?
Yeah, they're all starstruck,
right?
Yeah, they're all starstruck back there.
Yeah, they're all marking out for the fact they're all to be part of the media scrum, because wrestling media isn't real media. Let's not make any mistake. Like, the guys that are in the wrestling media are not real media guys. They're wrestling fans that know how to write well.
Yeah, by and large part, yes. And some don't even fit the second qualification, but yeah.
Correct.
There's a large base of that. There's wrestling reporters that, are real and that, I respect. But, in large part, like, there's a lot of people that
question. Nobody's asking Tony Khan that question. And I would love to ask Tony Khan that question, or you to ask him that question, really. It would be fascinating. If there was any way we could get Tony Khan on this show, I think we would have a completely different interview with him than a lot of other people would have. Kudos, but we'd also ask him some tough questions to try to see, like, where is his mindset at? Because that leads me into, if you don't have any further thoughts and you've kind of gotten your rant out there, because I'm going to set you up for another rant here, Tony Khan and AEW related. That leads me to the next thing, which is, he's making some questionable decisions when it comes to tying Ring of Honor and putting Ring of Honor on his main AEW show, Dynamite. I know you question the logic or the thinking or what he's thinking, putting Ring of Honor title matches on AEW. And I know you always look at it from an executive standpoint. You know, give me there. What are your thoughts there? What concerns you about the idea that Jonathan Gresham is defending the Ring of Honor World Title against Dalton Castle?
I don't question the defense. That's all fine. But what appears to be happening is very similar to WCW, where they wanted a separate, TV show for WCW. He wants a separate show for Ring of Honor. Eventually, because they're struggling to get that deal, well, let's throw Buff Bagwell and Booker T, and we'll try to introduce it this way. And it's like, like I've been saying the whole time, I don't think that deal is out there, and like to where it's going to be, significant enough not for them to incur costs and or incur losses. Sorry, I mean, like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, I don't understand it at all. Like, I mean, you bought this, and I really hope that, I mean, like, you'd like to think that he bought it knowing that he had a deal, but where's it at?
Correct. That's, again, I'd love to interview Tony Khan, because I would love to know the timeline of the Ring of Honor purchase. And did he rush into it? And did he rush to the announcement because there was some reported interest from WWE in the catalog and in the footage and in the company? I wonder if he bought it and hoped for the best and now is scrambling, because that's what it appears. That is if you were going to make that guy's the evidence, the circumstantial evidence of what he has done with that company since, would lead you to believe that he is flying by the seat of his pants, hoping that he's got a deal somewhere, but he doesn't have anything.
You know what it depends on? It depends on how good of a promo you think Tony Khan is. Because if you think that he's a really good promo that can be like in character and be believable in what he's saying, then there's some wiggle room there. But if you think that he's just a shit promo, and when he went out there and said that it was like all about protecting the history and integrity of Ring of Honor, that shit might have been true, man. Like, it's whenever it's on television, I mean, I generally go by, it's, if you're on camera and it, like, I put nothing past anybody. But I mean, the more and more it looks like it does kind of look like he wanted to, keep this thing rolling so that it didn't die or WWE didn't get it. And what about the footage? Where will that all go? Oh my God. Like, right. I mean, like, he went out there. He was so believable when he's, you remember, he's talking all high. And listen, when Tony Khan gets excited, he gets really loud and his voice starts cracking. And he was in full Tony Khan mode for that promo. So maybe he was telling us the truth, man. Maybe he was. Fuck.
Now you got it.
But I will say too, we could never have Tony Khan on the show because it would end about the 17th minute when I have a Tourette's attack and start like tearing into him about the Jacksonville Jaguars and shit, man.
Hold on now. Now we got to play this. For those of you that have not seen it, I don't know why you wouldn't, but maybe you don't watch AEW. Check this out. Watch Tony Khan's face. Just watch how passionate.
He already came on himself. Look at that free shot right there.
Normally, I'm the one keeping people on time, so I'm going to make sure we get to the wrestling tonight. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here. Everyone here and everyone at home, you're the ones that kept this company and this business going through this pandemic. Thank you for being here tonight.
He's such a nerd.
Tonight is a big night. We're going to have a big week. This is the biggest week in the history of this company. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the road to revolution. This Sunday on pay-per-view and ahead of revolution, I have a huge announcement tonight.
Get ready.
It's something big, and I really appreciate you all being here. When we started AEW 3 years ago, it was out in the parking lot. And I know a lot of you were here at the very beginning out there. At the very beginning. Well, it was about 17 years before that, another wrestling company started. A wrestling company known as ROH. Ring of Honor.
Polite applause.
And I've been a fan of Ring of Honor for a long time.
I think they mark out for the actual.
So you can imagine I'm very excited because today I signed a deal. I just became the new owner of Ring of Honor.
Yeah, they do pop there.
Oh my God.
Shane's not here. There's no Shane. It's
No
me.
Shane.
And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my
Ring of
God.
Honor, 20 years ago, last
Here we
week,
go.
they launched with an era of honor. One of the biggest events they ever had. And the first show, the era of honor begins. The main event, you were there? Well, you know who else was there? He was out in the parking lot. Christopher Daniels.
Oh,
He's an AEW original. He's a Ring of Honor original. He's been there to
What the fuck is an AEW original?
And the man he wrestled, neither one of them won that night in the main event, and it's been eating both of them up for 20 years. The man he wrestled is here tonight, and it's the man who's going to wrestle Jon Moxley at Revolution for the first time ever in Daly's Place. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
look at it.
Oh my God. His facial expressions. Oh my God. Listen, he's, yeah, I don't know, man.
He's a weird dude. There's no way around it, man. He is a weird fucking dude.
Well, you just see how passionate he is about it, and then he did talk about that with the integrity, the history, the library, all that. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, it's damn, it's getting really hard for me to believe that this wasn't just like, yeah, like just this thing that he wanted to do to, protect history or whatever, and not the best business decision. But yeah, we're not off to a good start here, and this is probably a tester to some degree, maybe just to see. Just show the network, hey, this did a really good rating or whatever. And guess what? It's not. But I mean, I don't know, man. And we talked about that too. The changes with Discovery and Warner Media and all that. Like, I just can't imagine that you're getting all these like million dollar empires of like entertainment and media and like. Oh, yeah, ROH. That sounds good. Like, what the fuck, man? Get out of here.
Absolutely. So a little bit more AEW. I'm going to bring up this story. AEW, this is one I find somewhat fascinating. AEW is turning Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti heel due to fan reaction. And if you've been watching AEW, like, they were both baby faces, pretty big baby faces, as a matter of fact. And then the story got out that he put out on social media that he was separating from his fiance, and he had proposed to her on AEW television. So it was something that was public knowledge. And then he goes public but before he made that announcement, there were a lot of social media posts with the two of them together, Tay Conti and Sammy Guevara. And when he announced that he was splitting with his wife, the AEW fans put two and two together on their own, factual or not, and basically put it on Tay Conti that she was basically a home wrecker. Like that Sammy and Tay were basically cheating on his fiance, and that's what led to the breakup. Because immediately they denied that, but then very short time after that, they go public on social media that they are indeed a couple. And the AEW fans have booed the fuck out of him and them since that time. And I find it fascinating because AEW fans take things very, very seriously, right? Like, too seriously. And I wonder if this is a case because it's a real life thing, and they're getting what has been affectionately called X-Pac heat. And he gives. Are you talking about Sammy Guevara, Chad? That he gives you anxiety? Is that what we're talking about?
I really do. That's the only male we're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah. So I find it fascinating that they're getting this like X-Pac where it's like the fans have turned on no matter how they're being presented. And they were being presented as baby faces. And what's fascinating is Dan Lambert is the heel, and Dan Lambert is like the worst thing that's ever happened to professional wrestling. He's truly fucking awful. And people hated him because he was fucking bad. And the fans turned him babyface and Sammy heel because they're booing the shit on him because of what quote unquote real life heat. And I'm interested what your opinion is, because you always have a different take on these kind of stories than I do. I think it's interesting. I don't necessarily disagree, because I think cheaters are terrible people, but we don't know for sure that that's how this played out. And so I think the whole thing is weird and fascinating, but it's translated onto television, and that doesn't happen all that often in the world of professional wrestling, where a wrestler's personal life affects the direction of their character. So I'm curious.
Just about the situation in itself. Life is gray, man. Things happen. People make mistakes. People make errors. That shit ain't got nothing to do with nobody except for the two people involved. Not even the other one, because that's between the two people. Regardless of that's just it. But this harkens back to one Nicholas Alvin Cutler's favorite storylines of all time. And shout out Nicholas Alvin, who I just gave his work middle name. I expect you to use that from now on. But he loved that Matt Hardy, Edge, Lita, real life shit. And that's exactly what this is. And it is sad. Like wrestling fans have come a long way, because there's a lot of people that have kind of crept out I was listening to one of my basketball podcasts last night, and they were talking about when Aaron Gordon dunked on Draymond, and Draymond grabbed his legs. He was like, it looked like he was going for a sharpshooter. The other guy was like, no, that was a Boston Crab. And it was like people have kind of come out the closet a little bit more, because it's become more acceptable. But when shit like this happens, it's like fucking 2 steps back, man. It's like, let these fucking people live their lives. What the fuck are you booing them and morally judging them on some real life shit? This is fucking stupid, dude. Grow the fuck up, man. Yeah. It just shows this obsessive level of fandom that that I think is a stereotype, and people like me try to shy away from. That's what, look, man, I mean, I don't want a lot of people knowing that there's still a stigma, but this is why, because it's this insane level of fanaticism. It's we're gonna boo you in public. Get the fuck out of here, man. And you know what's funny too is at least a quarter of those motherfuckers booing are probably doing it. Get the fuck out, man.
Booing him, but if they're also waiting for him after the show for a fucking autograph from him.
Well, yeah, but no, you're telling me that all these people booing, nobody's, what are the odds, man? Get the fuck out of here. Every shit happens in life. Move the fuck on. It's insane. But, if they're going to run with it, and they already have a blueprint of at least how to get it started and to run with it with Matt Hardy and Edge, then, good for them too. I don't know anybody's situation, so I got no judgment on it. But if they're going to run with it and make money, God bless. That's what we're here to do. So, that's all good.
Yep, I agree. Now, the last AEW story I want to talk about is a guy that you believe is a true superstar as a heel. And he did something that got national attention again. And I want to put him over for it. That's MJF. Have you seen this? MJF posted this picture from the Pittsburgh airport.
I did
where
not.
There's this statue of Franco Harris.
Franco Harris, yeah.
And he posted this picture of himself, right? Well, check this out, because they said Bill Crawford, after that wrestler disrespected the Franco statue, the Pittsburgh airport is done playing games. They had security set up, making sure that no one else took a picture like that. And MJF retweeted and said, "I'm gonna do it again."
Listen, if you want to separate yourself between big town and small town, that's some small town shit right there. In the big cities, no one has time to worry about what fucking Hall of Famer was defiled, what their statue was defiled in the airport. Grow the fuck up, Pittsburgh. Find some better shit to do. God damn, all this extra TSA money, and this is what they're worried about. Of all the things people worry about their taxes going to, this guy's worried about protecting the sanctity of fucking some cutout or whatever the fuck it was of Franco Harris. Please stop.
It was like a wax figure kind of deal.
Yeah.
Oh, hilarious. But kudos to fucking MJF for doing it. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. No, he's money, man. And he's definitely gonna. I mean, he'll definitely be in WWE too.
Yeah, I think
that's gonna be funny.
You called that out, and I think you're 100% right.
Well, he's already openly said it too. I mean, we haven't really talked about. I don't know if you saw that interview or not, but I mean, he openly said that he will not resign, and his contract ends January 2024. He will not resign unless it's like an exorbitant amount of money. He's well aware, he's mentioned that he's heard that Fox and WWE are interested in him. So he acknowledged what we've all heard.
A relationship with Bruce Pritchard from back in the MLW.
MLW, yeah. He mentioned, and he talked about Bruce too. He's going, man, because they're going to offer him more money than he can turn down. And I think Tony Khan really likes MJF, but MJF isn't that like that smooth, like that high impact worker. Like he's an old school worker, which I love, but I could just see him totally talking. Like that's what he did with Cody. If Cody was more of like a flippy guy and all that, like he would have definitely like felt more inclined to keep him. But I think that's part of it too, is that he doesn't think that he fits in because he doesn't work that style, which is what makes him fit in more than anything, because he sticks out. And it's the same thing with MJF. Like, yeah, he's not doing fucking, corkscrew moonsaults and all that, but who got more heat? MJF. Like at the end of the night, like is it him or anybody else? Because generally it's him. Like that's what I'm saying. Like some of this shit, like everybody has their own preferences and all that, but I don't understand really this mentality. Like, somebody I know today was, and somebody I love and adore, God bless him. But I mean, he had said something about, Ronda Rousey needing to go to NXT or something. And I'm like, look, there's no wrestler in the history of the business in any era on any continent whatsoever that has had the quality of matches that Ronda Rousey has in their first 40 matches. None. And even if you want to put all that on the people that she worked with, that's fine. But if she can go in there and the match can be at that level, that's who she's working with. So she doesn't need to do anything. But everybody takes this like, what I like is what's good. And I don't really understand that, because we talk about this all the time. There's a difference in styles, but her shit is over with the crowd, and that's what it's about. Like, you're trying to get over. It's an entertainment thing. Like, if you're in this just to, appease people on the internet or whatever, that's not why you should be doing this, man. I mean, it's one thing to be like a struggling actor and not be discovered, but be really good and trying to be entertaining when you're out there. It's another thing to just set your own standard of like, well, this is what's good, and it's like, are you like, if the match isn't over, it wasn't good. So I mean, when you're, I just don't, I don't really understand how people look at things like that. It's just, I mean, there's differences that just acknowledge them.
Yep, 100%. And that leads us perfectly into this next story. We teased it a little bit at the beginning. WWE has changed their philosophies, right, with NXT. And they got rid of a bunch of guys that were indie darlings and loaded up the AEW roster. And we all said, this has got to be an indictment of Triple H and he failed, and that whole thing. Well, he finally had a chance to sit down with somebody, a reputable reporter, and he did an interview with The Atlantic, which is an actual real sports website, news website, and he had some interesting things to say, and I'd like to go through this with you. It says here, speaking with The Athletic, Levesque said after transitioning NXT to USA from WWE Network, the pandemic changed their focus in working in front of no fans and hurt both the recruitment and training of talent for nearly 2 years. And then here it is. He says, then we said, okay, let's reboot it and go back to what we originally were. Some of these people won't be ready for television, but we're going to put them on television, and we believe the audience is invested enough that the numbers might come down, but a core group of them will stay, and now you're creating fresh stars all the time. That's where we are now. The numbers have stabilized. And so you always have a keen eye looking at the business aspect of things. What is your reaction when you hear and see Triple H making a comment like that?
I mean, I think they're spot on to reboot it. I mean, and from an entertainment standpoint, it's not as good, but for my purposes, like so I understand people being upset with it, but like the idea to reboot it was 100% correct. Like they're not enough of the guys that get over there are converting on the main roster. And yes, I understand some of that is their fault and there's certain things and blah blah blah. But the bottom line is that there's just not enough of a connect rate, and you gotta like go back to the drawing board. And I know everybody kind of blames them that there's this agenda and blah blah blah. Who the fuck just main evented WrestleMania? Kevin Owens. Like, give me a fucking break. Like, they're not all like they don't kill everybody, but right, like they don't.
Yeah, if you take the ball and run with it, like Kevin Owens has done since the minute
yeah.
Yeah.
And he had less reason than anybody because besides the style or whatever the fuck, the look, everything, like he had everything working against him there. He just fucking main evented WrestleMania over Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar because we know what the fucking real main event of it was. Night 1, not night 2. That was the fucking main event of WrestleMania. Listen to the fucking crowd. The crowd, like they'll tell you who the main event of WrestleMania was.
100%. So the story goes on. The build your own versus recruit the indies. Levesque said that over time, he realized that the NFL parts ways with up to 500 players a year, which helps contribute to a larger pool of athletes from which they can recruit versus a smaller pool of indie talent where, quote, you've almost got to be someone with nothing else going on or can't take no for an answer and dig. If you take that athlete pool and 10 or 5% have big personalities that would be good for your business, you're talking about a talent pool that's 1,000 times bigger than right now. He admitted that there are going to be some cases where they will miss and realize that they were wrong in not signing certain talent. But, quote, at some point, they'll want to be part of the biggest promotion in the world and come back here. Right? And that's just it. Like now they know, too, that if they do miss, they can then say, hey, man, go out there. You saw what Cody Rhodes did. You seen what an AJ Styles did. Go out there, make your name on the indies, reinvent yourself, make yourself undeniable, come back, and we already believed in you on some level. It didn't work when we went with you, right? And so I think when you read this is smart business.
Yeah, when he talked about the talent pool, that was something that I never considered, and that's what I thought. I was like, damn, this is smart. And as far as going out and creating your own, that's why I don't believe in them killing you off either. Because if they do kill you off and you get released and don't get used well, man, you can go out there and make your way. And like Cody Rhodes is a good example because Cody Rhodes was, he was dead, man. He was dead. Cody Rhodes was not over with the audience that he ended up getting. Well, yeah, and just the audience that he ended up getting over with, he was not over with that audience. He did that all on his own. So, they have a lot more control in it. And it's just, he's right, though.
I thought it was interesting. I learned something about Cody Rhodes that I didn't know. And it came from a Kevin Owens interview, ironically enough. Kevin Owens mentioned that he and Cody Rhodes were actually really close when Cody was there the first time. And he had just come up to the main roster. Cody was there, and they actually struck up a really good friendship where Owens said he doesn't have a whole lot of really close friends in the wrestling business, but Cody was one of them. And Cody came to the realization that he was going nowhere in WWE and he needed to get out of there and he needed to go to the indies. But he had never done the indie thing before, right? He grew up in the WWE system, so he'd never been on the indies. So he went to Kevin, was the indie guy that had made it, and said, hey, man, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to work for and who not to work for. So Kevin Owens picked up the phone and called the Young Bucks and said, hey, Cody's a good friend of mine. Take care of him. And that's why the Bucks got him booked where they got him booked, kind of took him under their wing, got him in promotions like Ring of Honor and New Japan, and allowed him to get to blossom. And I thought that was fascinating. I didn't realize that was how the Bucks and Cody made the connection together, was that Kevin Owens was like, hey, help this guy out. He's a friend of mine. He's trying to reinvent himself. He just doesn't want to get fucked. and the Bucks helped them out, and they ended up creating this amazing thing that turned into a whole fucking competitive promotion.
Yeah, I mean, and it's stuff like that too. I mean, it's good to see that, you know, the guys are helping each other out, and all those opportunities are out there. I mean, like when we had the conversation with Nick about greatest wrestlers ever too, and Nick had said, like, you know, it's kind of paraphrasing, but like it's unfair because the guys now, like, they don't get to work Japan or other places or whatever it is like they did back then. So they're always going to be lower on the list if you're considering like them being, you know, more places is like a positive. And it's like, but that means they're not as good because like, it's just a fact that if you get out, I mean, like, look at the guys that do it, like Cody, like going out there and learning how to get over to different audiences. Like that is a skill that if you possess makes you better than somebody else. So if you're not willing to do that, and a lot of these guys should be, and good for Cody for, you know, like taking the ball and wanting to get out. Like some of these guys, and that's fine too. Look, the guys I'm about to talk about, that's fine too. If you want to sit on your ass and not do a whole lot and make, you know, $600,000 a year or whatever, God bless you. That's 100% your choice. But as far as like being a better professional wrestler, there's a lot of their guys out there that aren't doing much. And yeah, their value isn't much there. And if they went out, they would be better professional wrestlers and increase their value.
Yep, 100%. Okay, last thing before we get to the retro review for this week. Easily the most preposterous thing I read wrestling related in the last 2 weeks comes to us via the folks over at bodyslam.net with this headline. Speedball Mike Bailey said X Division Championship is the biggest title in wrestling. What? Okay, let's read this. Speedball Mike Bailey wasn't able to wrestle in the United States for almost 5 years due to an immigration visa issue. However, Bailey signed a contract with Impact back in October 2021 after finally being allowed back in the States. Mike Bailey recently spoke with Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso, where he talked about making up for lost time after being restricted. Okay, that's not what I don't care about that. Okay. And without the biggest match since Bailey's return to the United States takes place this Saturday at Rebellion as he competes in a three-way match against Trey Miguel and Ace Austin for the X Division title. The X Division Championship is my goal. To me, the X Division Championship is the biggest championship in professional wrestling. A chance to get that belt, especially when the division is so stacked, it means more. It's me, Ace, and Trey in the match, but there's also Chris Bay, Laredo Kid, Rich Swann, Willie Mack. Those are all such great wrestlers. I want to be the top wrestler in all of wrestling. Becoming X Division champion is the first step to proving that. What the fuck are you talking about? I mean, I get like being in promo and in kayfabe and like, but dude,
it's a fucking interview.
It's an interview, and that's gonna go everywhere, and you make yourself sound like a complete fucking asshole. What the fuck? Like,
yeah, you do. My only explanation for this is that I'm guessing that Speedball Mike Bailey, Jesus, I feel weird even saying that name, but it's just he must have got a text or something, or just came across the phrase "all press is good press," and he just figured I'll just go out there and say some shit. Because other than that, I have no explanation whatsoever. Like it was just fuck. Because I don't even like. And the funny thing is, after reading the names of the match, I'm like, damn, that's probably gonna be a pretty good match. But it's just so fucking stupid. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
not a one of them is a big name. I mean, they're all fine wrestlers. Fine, they're all perfectly good professional wrestlers, but they are B and C level talents. I mean, that's where they are.
They're really good talents, but they're not like names. Yeah, I mean, I like them. I mean, Willie Mack and Rich Swann are really good, and fucking Laredo Kid too. Woo. Chris Bay, I haven't seen as much of, but from what I've seen, he's okay. But I mean, and Speedball Mike Bailey, whatever. But I mean, you know, Laredo Kid, Willie Mack, Rich Swann, I'm on board with that. But I mean, like, it's not Like to say, listen, you can't be in the top of the industry if you're not wrestling the top of the industry. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That belt is not at the same level it was when it was Low Ki, and Jerry Lynn, and AJ Styles, and Chris Sabin, and Alex Shelley, and all those guys, Samoa Joe, all those guys wrestling for that belt. That's when it was a real title. That was when it meant something. It doesn't mean something. Sorry, it doesn't mean as much when Chris Bay was in the mix.
There was a conversation I was having too, and just like, because the TNT title switch again, it was like, oh, this is belt, they're gonna kill this belt, like, you know, whatever. And it's like, the moment the belt is introduced, it's dead. It's 2022. There are no live belts. No belts draw anything. Not a dime. They don't enhance anybody, anything. It's just a way different era of wrestling. They mean jack shit. Like, again, what was the main event of WrestleMania? The two biggest stars in the company wrestling for the title, or the guy from fucking 20 years ago coming back and, you know, having a hard time falling on his ass to give a stunner? Like, come on, guys. Like, I mean, it's not, no belts mean anything anymore. That's just not what the business, like, it's funny how people were talking about the titles being killed in like fucking 95. And it's like, if you started killing it then, don't you think it's fucking dead now? Because guess what? It is. It's like, I just don't really get the mentality of like a title meaning anything anymore. That's what's funny about it too. Is it's like, you don't want to wrestle Brock Lesnar. You want to be X Division champion. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Exactly. Where are your fucking priorities if you think that's the biggest belt in the business?
Yes.
But it was, it's preposterous, and I had to call it out. All right, that takes us to our retro review for this week. We are going to look back at 2004 Ted Petty Invitational, which is a long 2-night show. It is so fucking long. I'm sorry, I had to skip over some stuff. I don't have that much time in my life. I just don't, to be able to properly sit down and watch every fucking second, because god damn, there's so much going on on the show. But there is some stuff that sticks out, and there's some overall things I want to point out. I think really this show, these two shows, it sets the tone for the next 20 years of independent professional wrestling.
In such a bad way.
In many ways, yes. In good ways too, though, because there's so many guys that go on to be big, big fucking stars, television stars, on television for a long time.
Some of them were already by that point, though, too.
A couple of them.
I think there's a few. I think there's more than a couple, because, like, shit, CM Punk's been in TNA, you know, he was there for a couple of years, or at least a year. I mean, on the pay-per-view side, he was about
AJ Styles and Jimmy Grave had been in TNA.
Yeah. AJ Styles been there for 2 years by that point.
Yeah,
Petey Williams. Yeah. I mean, that's all fine. I mean, either way, I mean, it doesn't matter. And some of those guys were
Danielson before he becomes the big guy, the big star that he becomes. Punk before he becomes the really big star. He gets theirs.
No, there's definitely, like, I mean, look, all this shit helped. I mean, we talked about it as far as the understatement of IWA Mid-South in helping guys, as far as giving them guys a platform to show what they could do and get guys, you know, help get guys to the next level. Can't be, I mean, it really can't be understated enough. But as far as all the bad shit, like, and, you know, I'm saying this as somebody who had their own problems with time running indie shows and all that. Like, I'm not blameless, but you gotta be like, here's what I used to say all the time. Professionalism never ran anybody off. Okay. Like, nobody ever walked out of a place and said, I'm not coming back, because they were too goddamn professional and organized. So whatever you feel like your wrestling product is, adding that to that can't be a bad thing in any way whatsoever. So everybody should shoot for that. And that's what this is. Like, it's so good it's bad. Like, the tournament
action, everything surrounding the action, from the ring to Ian being long-winded and cutting fucking 10-minute promos to start the fucking show, and coming out multiple times throughout the night to cut more promos that were long-winded and took forever. Yeah, I mean, it is an organizational fucking clusterfuck.
And it's too many matches. It's too many. The show itself is too many matches. Like, that's too many matches and too few nights. Like, these shows are like 4.5 hours each, and ROH really started going into that too, where they were, doing these super long, and that's when they lost me as a fan, where it was just like, every match is a fucking WrestleMania match or whatever, and this was, it was too long, and it did hurt it because you can't be excited for some of the good stuff, because even if it's good, man, you really want this show to end. Because it's so long. It's so long. Yeah.
And you can only do so
good matches though.
There's a bunch of sleepers.
Oh yeah.
The ones that stick out to me. Okay, I remember this back then, and I wanted to make sure that my memory wasn't too far off. But Samoa Joe and Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong had been in ROH a little bit. He was part of that Generation Me or whatever, Generation X or whatever the fuck they were called. With Aries and Jack Evans. He was doing a lot of tag stuff with Jack Evans at this point. But he hadn't really been a singles guy, hadn't had a whole lot of singles matches, even in Ring of Honor and on the indies. This match made Roderick Strong a viable indie star. And I really do believe that this match set the tone for him being in NXT today, because he came out of nowhere and Joe really gave him a lot. Joe really allowed him to get stiff with him, and he got stiff back, and they had an awesome match. That match stands up. I fucking love that match.
No, they did. But I think with Roderick Strong, it's more the quality of his work over, several years where he was really good. But I can't remember. In ROH, I'm trying to remember 2004 ROH, because I feel like, he was involved in shit, and you could tell that he was shining there, because 2005, he's like ready to pop. It's, it's him in Generation Me thing. By the way, shout out to my boy Deuce, who you said Jack Evans. That triggered me, because every time I think about this, it makes me laugh. But he said that Jack Evans wrestles like Zach Gowen with 2 legs. Like, that is the comparison that I always hear in my head whenever I hear Jack Evans' name.
Say yes. Another thing I will say overall about this show, 2 things. One thing that was negative is that the quality of the ring really hurts a lot of these matches. The ring sucks so bad. So bad. And like Matt Sydal and Sal Rinauro are 2 high flyers that couldn't really do a whole lot of high flying, because getting up on those ropes is a fucking death sentence.
Yeah.
And everyone knew it. So that hurt it. Flip side, Dave Prazak makes this show.
Oh, I love him.
He makes the whole fucking 2 nights.
I love Dave Prazak.
And he doesn't particularly care for me, and I know that. And I had the unenviable task of following Dave Prazak as the play-by-play guy of IWA Mid-South. It's impossible to live up to, because that dude is so fucking good. He's so knows everything. He presents it well. He interacts with all the different rotating guys so well.
That's the best part.
Yes.
The interaction is the best part. Like, especially for this show, because look, nobody wants to listen to fucking 4.5 hours of holds, and like just the banter and the back and forth. Like I told you, Eddie Kingston was saying how much he hated the ref, and it's like a total inside thing. Like, it has nothing to do with like, did he cost you a match? He was like, did he mess up one of your matches or something? And I was just like, I popped so loud, because I was like, what the fuck? Like, these guys are just out there like really just having conversations and shooting the shit. Like, that's basically what it was. And it was awesome. The Eddie Kingston stuff, I think I like the most.
Yep. Him and Kingston is, for me, is like Gorilla and Jesse. It just fucking vibes. They just vibe together, and the banter, and Dave does a great job of playing the straight man and setting up Eddie for Eddie to say something fucking wild and ridiculous. and it's so good.
It's funny because even though he's really good, and this isn't a knock because somehow he makes it work, but he's also Eddie Kingston is also 2002 Don West too, like multiple moves. He's just and it's like it's not that's dude, you're commentating like that's not really, you're not supposed to shriek into the headset like that, like, but somehow it works because it's like they're just guys like having fun at the matches, like, and it was that, like, I really enjoyed that part. That stuff was really good.
Yep. Another match that really stuck out in the first round for me that I really, really, really enjoyed was CM Punk and Austin Aries.
Awesome.
I thought their chemistry was fantastic.
Awesome.
And Punk, I will sit here and shit talk him as a human being all night long if you want to, but as a performer, that dude is impeccable. He's really, really fucking good. He knows how to tell a story. Like, he's such a good professional wrestler. And Austin Aries is really, really solid here too. I really, really enjoyed that match. And for 16 minutes and 45 seconds, which is what they went, it had me the whole way.
Perfect.
The ear falls were great. Everything. It was really, really stuck out as a fantastic match. I thought there was also some cool stuff where they were telling some stories as well, and it really helped that Prazak was there talking about Chris Hero and the Highland Curse, where he had a losing streak there and he couldn't win in Highland, and again him and Quackenbush. The first night really needed the difference in style that Hero and Quackenbush brought, because there was a lot of the same stuff going on, and they did that very British / lucha libre style of match that was very different than anything else in the first round, but was also highly, highly entertaining.
To prove your point, Prazak kind of buried the show at one point with one comment, with, I think, unintentionally, but somebody's working over the knee, and he was like, this is the third time that we've seen some sort of third match where we've seen some sort of knee injury tonight. And it's like, yeah, you guys are doing the same shit. Like, it's probably not like, this is why agents and producers are good ideas. Again, organization, but yeah, you're telling the same story. But yeah, Hero and Quack was, I mean, it was different. It was good.
Yep. Super Dragon. I love fucking Super Dragon. He's my favorite, one of my favorite, if not my favorite indie wrestler of all time. And him and Eric Cannon was really fun because I love Super Dragon because he gets ignorant with people, and he gets real stiff and ignorant, and like because he can take it back, and he does take it back, but like he is obnoxiously stiff with Eric Cannon in a few points in this match, but it's so fun.
Yeah, Super Dragons is an interesting guy for, like, I've
only worked one show with him, and he was a very weird guy. You're a West Coast guy. What is the opinion on the West Coast of Super Dragon?
He worked. My interaction with him in shows wasn't much, but like I know, like, shit, Hook Bomberry, Apollo Khan, shout out both you guys. They work Gorilla a lot, so they like Super Dragon. But you know, my boy Vinny Massaro does not like Super Dragon.
No, he doesn't, huh?
Oh no, King of Indies. There was an in-ring incident in King of Indies. So
okay, gotcha. Okay, because I know that the reputation always was that he was difficult to work with. And Ian had kind of hinted at that too, and that's why Ian didn't book him a lot, because he was very protective of his character and who he would put over and who he wouldn't put over and what moves he wouldn't take. He was deemed difficult to work with by guys like Ian, and I think that may have and he may not have given a shit, but I feel like Super Dragon should have been a bigger name. He should have been on the level that Punk and Hero and AJ and Danielson and those guys. He was as good as those guys. I believe that his look was unique and made him stand out from all those guys. But I have to wonder if he just didn't love it the same way those guys did and wanted to travel around the same way those guys did. Maybe
I think it was a choice with him, from what I've heard. I mean, from what I remember, I could be misremembering that, but I think it was his choice to just get out of the business.
And I know he also was big in booking PWG, and he spent a lot of time doing that.
No, yeah, he's owned into that.
Yeah,
he's part owner.
He's one of the original owners.
Yeah.
And that's a great story in itself. I remember talking to Joey Ryan. This is before Joey Ryan became the persona non grata. This was years ago when Vito and I had an interview with him, and he talked about how that those guys all got together and put their money in for that first PWG show, and they never had to put more money in ever. From that, they always were able to make enough money where those guys never had to come out of their own pockets again after that first PWG show, which, as you and I know from trying to run shows, that's really impressive. That's really hard to do. And you got to be really smart, and you got to be really strict with your money, and know where everything's going, and know how much you're going to get in, and all of those things. I mean, you really have to be a good business person, not just a wrestling promoter. You have to be a good business person to not have to put your own money in more than once.
There's a lot of good self-promoters in that group, so I'm not surprised. Like, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, it's guys that have kind of figured out the indie hustle already, so all getting together like that. And there's some good dudes in there too, man. Scorpio Sky was one of those original ones that was, from the beginning type guy, because he was really big down there in the Southern Cal indie scene, but. He's a fucking super cool dude, man. Just the one of the most nicest, humblest guys. It's good to see him get some success. And yeah, the good thing about it for them too is that it's not even the money. I mean, they really helped, get a lot of guys in. Like Regal was going to shows there when he's with WWE. He was going to all the PWG shows to scout talent. Like they really created the platform that people would come to look for talent to sign to developmental to another company.
To tie this back to what we were originally talking about, which is the Ian Rotten and IWA Mid-South, what those guys did was take Ian's model, combine it with Ring of Honor, but do it good business-wise. Do the business the right way and make it a place where guys wanted to come work, right? And so they took Ian's kind of, I don't know what the right word for this is, but vibe is the only thing. They took Ian's vibe and they brought it to the West Coast, and they made it better, and they made it a better place to work. And financially, they were better, and everybody got paid. There was never any worry if you were going to get paid, which with Ian Rotten, there's always a worry if you're going to get paid everything you're supposed to get paid. And so that led to a guys not wanting to work for Ian, which PWG didn't have that problem. And it was the new launching pad. You're absolutely right.
I think it was more of a Ring of Honor model, just because, like, the difference is that IWA Mid-South does like deathmatch shit and shit like that, and Ring of Honor but I mean Ring of Honor and IW, that is the difference. The rest of it is mostly the same, including the talent. So it's kind of a combination of both of them. But I mean, yeah, they did incredible, man. I mean, you can say whatever you want. And it helps, too, to be run by wrestlers with wrestlers, because you're going to get the brother discount and all that shit. And, I mean, that's, very helpful, I'm sure, in terms of making money. But the guys also are kind of more willing to go out there and do their thing because it's, for the boys like that. So, I mean, that creates a good atmosphere, too. Never been to a show. At some point, that's another one where, like, I'd like to go, but then I'm like, oh, man, I ain't going there for 5 fucking hours to watch this show till 1 in the morning. Like, that's the fucking only problem. But very successful though.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the first night, there's a lot of other good matches that are fun. Jimmy Jacobs and Delirious had a light heavyweight ladder match that was fun.
Oh my God, Jimmy Jacobs almost died.
Yes, he did.
That fucking ladder. Oh my God. He fell right off of that ladder. He was going to give, I believe, a senton or an elbow off the ladder to a table outside of the ring. And he fucking fell off of that ladder, slipped off of it, and just barely missed the top rope and like crashed to the apron in the floor. Like, that could have been real ugly.
Jimmy Jacobs has a history. There's that B.J. Whitmer incident where they were going to do the top rope power bomb into the ring, but he lost his balance and he ended up dumping him to the outside on a power bomb. Like that, Jimmy Jacobs has a bad history of things going wrong when he goes to the top rope or a ladder to try to do something.
I would never do it again after that fucking match. Jesus Christ.
Fucking nah. That takes us to night 2. And I want to talk about night 2 because I just want to talk about the opening match of night 2 and the uncomfortable awkwardness that was the entrances for CJ McManus, Billy McNeil, and Thunderbolt, because the crowd doesn't know who they are. They're all trying to get over, but none of them are, and the crowd doesn't care about any of them. And they all have weird, unique looks. And my favorite part, they all get in the ring, and Billy McNeil's the last one to get in, and he's got these pajama pants on. They look like pajama pants. And someone from the crowd just yells, "Nice pajama pants, asshole!" And I just fucking crack up. And CM Punk and Prazak are just dogging these dudes on commentary and their gear and everything. But what was great was once the bell rang, they actually had a fairly entertaining match for a 3-way match of 3 guys I actually gave them the time because I was like, this entrance is so awkward. The match has got to be bad and awkward. And if it gets bad, the crowd, I didn't remember it. So I started watching the match and I was like, this match actually isn't terrible.
It wasn't bad. No, it wasn't bad.
It wasn't terrible. Those 3 guys never made their way back to IWA Mid-South, though. I can tell you that. They did not ever become IWA regulars. So
I despise Billy McNeil because the only Bill McNeil is Phil Hartman. So fuck that guy. News radio, baby.
Yes. The couple of other non-tournament matches that we can kind of touch on a little bit. Ian Rotten and Steve Stone wrestled to a no contest when Chris Candido makes his return to IWA Mid-South and turns on Ian Rotten. This actually leads to a great match, which is Chris Candido and Steve Stone against Ian Rotten and Dusty Rhodes. And it is so fucking good. It's so entertaining, and it's such an odd match. But yeah,
I'd love to see that.
That's where it leads. There is basically a Chikara showcase match as Gran Akuma and Icarus team with Trick Davis take on Hallowicked, Jigsaw, and the late great Larry Sweeney. Which watching it reminded me of just how fucking awesome Larry Sweeney was. That guy he would be on television. I promise you, WWE would have been using him as a manager by now.
Oh, no question. Not even, and now he wouldn't even be wrestling, and he'd probably be doing some kind of involvement developmental or something like that, or have the fucking biggest, like a top 5 biggest wrestling podcast in the world. Whatever the fuck he really wanted to do with wrestling, he would have been able to do with wrestling.
It's unfortunate he had those demons and those mental issues they just couldn't overcome.
Was he using Holiday Road in IWA Mid-South as entrance music?
He was using all different kinds of stuff. I don't remember exactly.
He was using fucking Holiday Road. I might have been Chikara. I can't remember. But he was using fucking Holiday Road, the song from the fucking vacation movies, as entrance music. And that was the best shit ever. Like, just watching Larry Sweeney come out to that fucking shit. He was so good, man. He was so good.
He's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Also on the show, the Wild Cards, Eddie Kingston and Blackjack Marciano defeated Iceberg and Tank from NWA Wildside, and Brad Bradley and Ryan Boz to win the IWA Mid-South Tag Team titles. And then in what has always been like the Night 2 classic, all the losing guys from the first round have usually is like a multi-man tag match, but this one was actually an elimination match where BJ Whitmer defeated Chris Sabin, Jimmy Rave, Austin Aries, Alex Shelley, Todd Sexton, and Claudio Castagnoli. I mean, just look at that. Look at that list of names. It's just so crazy.
It is, but you can't appreciate it because it's like so fucking long into the show. Like it's I was really wearing down by night 2, man, and I spaced it out too. But I mean, even like it was getting to the point to where it was like
exhausting.
where it was like, oh fuck, I gotta put this on again. Like Jesus Christ. And I know it's gonna be good, but it was just like, dude. Like, and these guys, a lot of them, there's some variances in their styles, but you know, big move, near fall, big move, near fall. Like a lot of this shit is the same. So come on.
If you're a Bryan Danielson fan, this tournament is for you because he has 4 awesome matches with really 4 really different opponents, right? He has Alex Shelley in the first round. Then him and Punk go 16 minutes in the second round, which is another fucking awesome match. Then you get Danielson and Quackenbush, which is like a fucking dream match of technical wrestlers. Like I forgot that those two had even wrestled. And it was only 11 minutes because at that point they got to move things along, which almost is kind of disappointing, but still another really good match. And then you obviously have the finals where it's Danielson and Styles and Samoa Joe.
That was really good.
That match, basically that match is what they took that match and they took it to TNA, right? They did that. And instead of Danielson, they had Chris Daniels.
That's a ROH Hall of Fame match, no?
It really is.
No, aren't those 3 of the 5 guys that got inducted? I think it is. I think those
Danielson, Styles.
I think
Styles one of those guys that got inducted.
No, Styles did not. Styles did not.
Because I think it's the first ballot.
Yeah.
Briscoes, Punk, Danielson, and Joe. I think are all the first inducted.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
But yeah, that finals match was a template that Joe and AJ took to TNA, and instead of Danielson, they just plugged in Christopher Daniels, and they did that match many times.
Well, the finish was the only thing that was disappointing about the match, but the match itself was really fucking good. And you could argue in some ways, you know, for what it was, especially too, the best match of the tournament. I mean, it was really, really fucking good.
It really was. It is a long 2 nights, but there is some really awesome professional wrestling in there.
No, my advice would be to go through the list of matches that are going to happen, cherry pick what you want to see, and you're much better off. But if you're going to try to undertake the whole thing, unless you're like super, super hardcore, you're not going to get through it. And then you'll miss the good shit. So just, you know, cherry pick away because that shit is like WrestleMania 4 on fucking steroids, man.
It really is. It's like two
versions of
WrestleMania 4. It's unbelievable. It really is. And it's a terrible template for putting on professional wrestling. Everything that these 2 shows are saved by the overwhelming amount of talent that is in the tournament because the booking of the 2 nights is atrocious.
Not good. No, not at all. And Nick Cutler put that 2004 Ted Petty Invitational DVD away. Now that we said it was WrestleMania 4 on fucking steroids or times 2, Nicholas Alvin Cutler's eyes just got all big. He was like, "Oh shit, there's more of this."
All right, so that puts a cap on this week's episode. We'll be back next week. We may have somebody in the sidecar with us. It may just be Michael and I. Oh, we have to decide what we're going to watch.
Oh, that's a good question. We've never been in the position of picking before.
Right, me neither. And for us, we're wide open. We can watch anything.
Man, we've never paid any homage or given any love to any Starcade broadcasts on this podcast. That's disgusting, man. Meanwhile, I watch fucking Bad Blood 04 because of Nick's fucking phone or whatever. Nick's phone. Nick, we want you back, but we also want you back under the premise of a new fucking phone too when you come back. Jesus Christ. But Starcade. Let's do a Starcade for sure.
Okay, so what versions? Wait, there's eras, right? So we could do
Crockett or WCW.
80s,
NWA Crockett, yeah.
90 or WCW or WWE. We're not doing
let the number. Hold on, I'm gonna let me pull it up. We'll use a randomizer real quick, and let's see. We won't commit to this unless it's something interesting or decent. Like if it's Vince Russo,
there's
fuck
8.
That.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's some stuff there at the end. like Starrcade 2000, Scott Steiner versus Sid Vicious.
That's not Starrcade 2000 isn't too bad. Starrcade 99 is horrible. Hold on. 93. You know what?
93, is that what came up?
Yeah, let's watch that.
All right. Starrcade 93 is the 10th anniversary. It's actually the 11th Starrcade.
Ric Flair and oh my God, this is
look at the card. All right, hold on.
It's not even the card, guys. This is quite possibly one of the greatest nights of Ric Flair's career as far as how he was used. Because not only is his match good, but they tell an amazing, amazing story of him going for his last title or retiring against the Monster Vader. Mean Gene is with him all night. He come and picks Rick. Him and Rick take a limo and are in tuxes to the show. And it's like treated as a super serious thing. He fucking Charlotte making her first televised appearance. Like Beth is acknowledged and shown for the first time on camera. Like Gene coming,
right? They invite a Thunder Cage match.
Oh, that's Super Brawl. They do this is Ric Flair's career against Vader's title, but this is the first time that they show, Gene comes to the house, they show the house, they show Beth. He's giving David and Charlotte and Beth a kiss before he goes off to battle. Like, Gene is so fucking good here, like being so serious and asking, like, they have on the way there in the limo, there's just like conversation and like it's so serious and it's in Charlotte too, so you can only imagine Ric Flair wrestling his career in Charlotte. It's loaded. Yes, it's loaded.
It's fucking loaded. So check this out. The show opens with Pretty Wonderful, Paul Orndorff and Paul Roman, maybe my least favorite tag team of all time. With the Assassin taking on Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Alexander Bagwell with Teddy Long. That's actually going to probably be pretty fun.
It's good. Scorpio and Bagwell were fun.
You also get the Shockmaster versus Awesome Kong.
This is fun for all the wrong reasons. I remember this match well.
They follow that up with Lord Steven Regal versus Ricky Steamboat for the World Television title. Mm-hmm. Woo! Woo! Then we get a tag team match. Cactus Jack and Max Payne, who we talked about last week, taking on Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce, better known as the Godwins.
Yes.
There's a tag team match there. Then this match. Oh, this fucking match. Steve Austin with Colonel Robert Parker taking on Dustin Rhodes in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the United States Heavyweight Championship. It goes 23 minutes and 56 seconds of what I can only assume is fucking awesome from beginning to end.
Well, without spoiling anything about the match, I will say just that the lights do go out for a period of time during this match because it's fucking WCW, and why wouldn't they? But that did happen during the match. But yes, you got 2 Hall of Famers here locking it up for, 2 out of 3 falls, close to 30 minutes.
Hell yeah. Followed up by Rick Rude defends the International World Heavyweight Championship against The Boss.
Yes.
And then the longest match on the entire show, tag team titles, as Sting and Road Warrior Hawk take on the Nasty Boys for 29 minutes and 11 seconds. That's all the other cool stuff, but that seems like a punishment.
That match is not bad, but it's obviously way too long. I mean, it's so not bad that you're thinking, Jesus, if you just cut some time off it, it wouldn't, this could actually be pretty good. Wasn't bad. But this is also the match that gets Missy Hyatt paid because her tit pops out in the match, and WCW in its infinite wisdom posts the fucking picture of her all over the break room. Can you fucking imagine? Like, what the fuck? Like, even just saying that sentence out loud, I'm like, this actually happened. Like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? But they actually did, and she did.
We'll save it for next week. So
but good for her, though. Good for her.
All right, guys. So next week we will review in 1993 Starrcade. We'll talk about all the happenings in the now, and we will see you all next week.